Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the entries we had for the Space Marine Kill Team Hobby Challenge. We're going to have first, second, and third place, and a couple of honourable mentions as well. Off we go. So first, for the uninitiated, what is this? So every so often, so we do 3 a year. They last 3 months, and then you get a month off in between each challenge. We have a hobby challenge where everyone on the Discord paints a kill team according to a certain theme. And for this challenge, the theme was Space Marines. And the idea is to celebrate Space Marine kill teams because at that time, about 3 or 4 months ago, it was kind of, there was a bit of a stigma, I think, around playing Space Marines. They were regarded as filthy, broken, overpowered, beardy, cheesy, however you want to phrase it. And so I had a problem with that because, Space Marines are kind of also the default, the thing that new players gravitate towards. They are the sort of central tentpole of these games IP, and they're really cool. And if you don't like Space Marines, it's probably pretty weird that you're playing a 40k based game because Space Marines are like the main dudes. So I wanted people to feel good about playing and painting and hobbying and having Space Marine kill teams. So without further ado, let's have a look at what the community came up with and unveil the winner. So we're going to start off with mine because we always do the staff entries first because they're not eligible to win. And then we do, in no particular order, after the staff entries, we'll do all the people that didn't sort of podium or get an honourable mention. Then we'll do a couple of honourable mentions, and then we'll do the podium at the end. So in terms of staff, the winners are decided by committee. There's me, there's Zimbad went to art college, there's Blue, and then there's my wife, Mrs. Total Impulse, and the four of us come together and decide which ones have won. So this is mine. I did Plague Marines. I'm relatively happy with them. I think they look pretty good. Obviously, they're not a very refined paint job. With weathering, it's a bit. There's lots of places to hide when you're painting Plague Marines like this. You don't have to get the finish on the armor perfect. You don't have to, get the faces to look perfect because you're trying to get them to look a bit diseased and unwell and messy. And there's a lot of places where you can do bits and pieces with contrast paint and make life easy for yourself. But that said, I'm really happy with them. They're based on the classic Heresy era color scheme. Technically, I think it's pallid hand, and then I added in some purple because there were some cloth elements, and I wasn't really sure what colour to go with the cloth elements. And I'd seen some of the people that had done purple capes and stuff on their Death Guard. I could have just done them green, but I think I wanted to introduce a third colour into their uniform there to break things up. And I did a little display base there with a 3D printed element with some Nurglings sort of titting around in the sewage water that's bubbling up from the Nurgle symbol. I'm not really sure what's going on there in a sort of physics sense, but I thought it was cool. Lots of extra Nurglings capering around on the base. That's pretty cool. So that's what I did. Obviously, I can't win my own competition, but I was pretty pleased with them. I think they look pretty cool. Pretty fun to play games with as well. But yeah, that's mine. And then the second staff pick, we got Blue. Now, I'm in awe of Blue's stuff. If he wasn't one of the judges, he would definitely have been in contention for top 3 in my view, personally. I think, and bear in mind, Blue's been painting Warhammer for like less than a year, right? And he's come at it, he's got other hobbies, like he does leatherworking, other bits and pieces, so he's obviously he's a crafty guy, and he's got an eye for like that crafty stuff, and he uses techniques that are totally foreign to me. He does a lot of stuff with oils to generate the looks that he does, but I think his stuff looks really, really good. Like, it's got that sort of Renaissance painting palette to it. Everything's kind of slightly dull. It's got that kind of slightly Blanchitsu kind of vibe to it. I just really enjoy Blue's work. I kind of wish I could paint like that in a lot of ways, but then it wouldn't be my stuff, it would be his stuff, right? You don't want to necessarily just emulate what someone else is doing, but I do really like these. And I really like the little subtle conversions and touches that he's done, and the object source lighting, and the different. And I really like that, the bare head on the central figure as well. I think that looks really good. So I'm a massive fan of these. I think they're pretty ace. And it's nice to see some Black Templars. Actually, a lot of these were originally my Black Templars, which I sold to him, and so he's done a great job at putting them back together, cleaning them up, swapping the heads, doing random stuff. I think he's got some third-party helmets on there, or some 3D printed helmets or something else on the knights as well in the background. But I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, I would definitely have been in contention, I think, for top 3 had they been eligible. The only thing I would say, just the rims on the bases could have been a bit blacker somehow, but maybe that's just the photo washing things out a little tiny bit. And then we're going to have to Chris. So Chris, I did look. I couldn't see any lore that he'd posted, because these are a bit weird. They're Deathwatch, but they're also yellow. Now I don't know if Chris is watching. Leave me a comment. Is this an official like Deathwatch variant scheme or something? It doesn't matter if it's not. If it's just your own stuff, but I'd be curious to know the lore. These are. Listen, I really like the finish you've got on the yellow. Right, I think they look really, really, really good. What marks them down really is they just look a little bit unfinished. So as I look at them, like the yellow's great, but it's like all of the pouches on the legs, they're not picked out right, which I don't know. It just looks weird to me. It's like they're finished from the waist up, and then from the waist down they're just a bit yellow. I don't know if we lost track of time or something there, but that'll be my bit of feedback to there, is to paint them pouches brown leather, black leather, whatever you want to do. But I like them. You know, yeah, they are a bit weathered and dirty, but I think the effect works. I think the effect's been sold. Bases maybe a little bit plain. I don't know, but a really good effort. Not everybody can be a winner, but I especially also like the sergeant with the different coloured helmet. You don't see that very often. I like the way that you've picked out. You've obviously got a particular Reaver helmet that you like, because you've picked out that particular kind of design. There's a couple of different designs, and I agree with you, by the way. That is the coolest Reaver helmet as well. So I do like them, Chris. Okay, but like I say, just paint them pouches and things on the legs. I don't know what's going on there. Budget. So these are really interesting. The bases look really good. Like, I really like especially those central 3. I think what you've tried to do there with your kind of seashore bases looks really, really, really cool. But the painting on the minis, yeah, it's just, the black looks a bit patchy, at least in this shot. And I don't know, I think you were trying to go for like black and then like a dry brush of silver to highlight the black, but the silver's gone a bit hard in places, looks a bit weird. I'm not sure what's going on here with this shoulder pad. It looks like it just has some paint sort of on it that looks like paint brushed onto it. Is it supposed to be like a highlight where it's catching the light? Basically, the core effect over the black armor doesn't quite work for me, and they just look a bit, just slightly messy in that way. And I think you've been trying, because you obviously have skills, because the detail on this base and the little free-handed wave line and the bubbles, like the bases are utterly fantastic and mesmerizing, but the miniatures themselves, it's mainly the black armor, right? There are bits on there that look pretty cool. I like your choice of doing purple, and I like all your little purple glowies that you've got going across, and that's a great spot color. Don't see that very often on Deathwatch. I love that the Space Wolf's got his little free-handed knee detail. But I love your bases, but it's overall the effect of the biggest part of the model, the black armor, to me just looks a bit, I don't know, a bit messy. You haven't quite sold the effect for me there, bud. Okay. Mage Tom, now, these are a divisive one. I really like them, but they're so smooth, they're so clean looking, they're so like they got this perfect comic book vibe to them, but then they're Nurgle Marines, and they don't have a single speck of grime or dirt on them, and yet the sculpt makes them look like they should be grimy and dirty, but then their weapons are quite weathered up. So I really admire the technique. I really admire the way you've painted them. But we were just like confused about exactly that. Something looks slightly off about them. I don't know. It's the composition, right? Like the barrel on the backpack here is rusty, but then the armor is so clean, and the trim is rusty. It just didn't quite work for the judging panel there. But I do think they look. There's something about them though. They are eye catching. They do look really cool. But yeah, it's the composition, I think, and I don't like your one random. I know it's got narrative in your mind, and that's really cool, and they are your guys. But your one random heresy colored, sort of not heresy colored, Sons of Horus colored fella is a bit just. I don't know. The composition's a bit weird, but I think the techniques you've employed are really cool. Just man on the wrong models. If you'd painted some loyalists, like some what are they called? Not striking scorpions, mantis warriors with that same delicious green, I think they would look really. It looks what they look is crispy, and then they're models that you don't associate that level of crispiness with, and they come off looking a bit weird. It's all subjective. Mr. Dr. Laws. Now then, these ones are really challenging because the amount of effort of the conversion work that's gone into these is immense, right? I really, 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 really like the way you've done a lot. You've gone to a lot of effort to sort of make clean Marines out of the Games Workshop Plague Marine sculpts. There's a lot of, your sculpting work and your conversion work and your green stuff work is all absolutely spot on. I like the weapon. The weapons were a little bit the sort of the verdigris bronze thing is a little bit divisive. Okay, I think it looks cool as a stylistic choice, but it's a little bit divisive. Like having gone so far as the plasma pistol not having a glow, like it's cool though. It looks. I like it. What I think lets these down, to be perfectly honest with you, is the bone armor. Because you've gone to all that effort with the sculpting to make the bone armor look really clean, right? And you've done quite a sloppy wash on some of them. So it is obviously a wash that you've used. On some of them, it looks pretty good. Like these first two, it looks really good. This one, you're getting a little bit. You can tell it's a wash. You've got a little bit of coffee staining going on. The ones that really, these last three though, you can just really see on the feet here, and especially this one here, and these here on the feet, where the wash is. As you put the wash on, probably for your wash layer, and then you've left the table, and you've gone and done something else, got a cup of tea, gone to bed, done whatever it is, started doing another bit, and you just need to, as the wash is starting to pool, you need to, if you want to paint them that way, you need to kind of watch it and wick away the excess wash with a clean brush and dump it back off onto your palette just to stop this sort of pooling and staining effect that looks a bit weird. But actually, I think it's a weird one for the thing you put in so much effort to clean up the Plague Marines. I almost think they would have looked really cool with a very clean paint job as well. I think that would have really sold the overall effect. So the creative vision to me seems to be a bit confused. But I really admire. I like your bronze weapons, and I really admire all the conversion work you've done. Ouroboros. So these are. Oh, I had the name. Not White Templars. I can't go and look at it now, but these are your Space Marine team. Now, these are really interesting. So again, you've had a really strong creative vision. You've gone out and you've sourced these hooded heads from somewhere, and you put them on all the miniatures, and they've got their tabards. I think these are part of them are converted from Black Templars. Is that where they're from? Right? They look really cool. The miniatures that you've put together. Okay. And we've talked about this on Discord, on voice chat, so I know that you kind of feel the same way. I think that you have been let down by your choice of painting. It's a contrast job, right? I think the contrast has pulled very obviously on the cloaks, on the armor, and on the bone sections as well. I think I wouldn't use contrast at all, or if I was going to use contrast, I would then pretty fastidiously layer back with opaque paints on almost all of those surfaces, almost using the it's almost like so if I have a tabard and I paint the tabard and I put a contrast on it, and I'm then going to go and look and go, right, the contrast has shown me the lines. It's putting in these nice, like if you look here, the contrast has put you in these nice straight dark lines, right, so you can see the recesses. But then I would use some thin down paint of the actual color you want the thing to be, and I would start layering back over these flat areas just to maximize the contrast, the small C contrast between the shadows and the highlights, right? And the other thing that you can do with contrast is you can actually use a smaller brush. You don't have you can paint with it, right? You can actually place the contrast directly into crevices and use it that way as well, which is pretty effective. So when I'm doing red cloth, for example, my methodology is usually to start with Mephiston red, and then to actually use Flesh Tearers red and paint it into the crevices, right? And then you go back with thinned down Mephiston, and you're glazing back over sort of the edges of where the Flesh Tearers stained it slightly to get that gradient really easily. But because you didn't just cover the whole tabard in the contrast paint, A, you've got less drying time to worry about. B, you have less layering back to do because you haven't got to just layer back over the whole flat. You've just got to kind of then trying to use thin down paint to soften the hard edge between where you put the dark contrast and where the light colored paint is. Your mileage may vary. I think with white, and we talk about white a little bit, what I like to do at the moment is instead of using the contrast, I use the Soul Blight Grey wash. What you've got to realize is, and this isn't totally true with everything, but with the newer Citadel washes, and Soul Blight Grey only exists as a new wash because it's a new color. The washes are really good at pulling off the surfaces and just hitting into the crevices. Whereas contrast paints always act as more of a filter. They change the color of the entire piece. And so, in some ways, like on this leg, if you were going for a marble effect, that looks quite good. But you've kind of just got lucky with it. Like that leg, I actually quite like. This leg over here, you've got this really obvious like tide mark where the transition is too harsh. So it's a difficult one. I also think you've missed some, like if you see on this guy, he's got like a thigh strap, like leather strap holding on his holster there. This guy's got a thigh strap holding on his holster, but you've not picked it out. This guy seems to have, there's no holster there, but he seems to have the same strap going across there like that. So there's just little bits that could have been picked up and improved. But I think, generally speaking, it's the technique. It's the technique of getting the white across the thing. And I would say as well here, you got a little bit of spillover off the chest design, and that's just a case of using a smaller brush and going a bit slower. And you can. when you're using contrast paint, you can still use a palette to control, like, you're not trying to dilute the contrast paint, but a lot of times I see, and I've done this mistake, I do sometimes do contrast straight from the pot as well, but a lot of the time, you can put the contrast on a palette. You're not trying to water it down or change its consistency like you are with opaque paints, but what you're trying to do is just make it so that you control the amount of paint that's on your brush, so that when you then put the paint brush onto the model, you've got more, because the paint's a lot, you translucent paint. I use the word contrast like people say Scotch tape. You can take this for contrasts or washes or army painter, whatever it's called. They've got a transparent paint as well. You still control how much is on your brush tip, and therefore you can get some more control over the paint, because otherwise it's very loose, so it just kind of flows around everywhere, which is what it's designed to do. What else? You haven't drilled your barrels, and that's fine. I'm not going to be like drilly barrels, lol. But like here, you've blacked the end of the barrel, which is a fine alternative to trying to drill it, right? I get that, but not on the Planter pistol. So there's another thing. What I like, choice of doing the purple purity seal to echo the color of the purple bases. I think that's really smart. I think that shows a really smart artistic kind of, oh, I'm going to have this purple and I'm going to carry it through here, and there's a little purple glow on the combi there. Like, I think your color choices really work, and I think trying to pull in the color from the environment really works. And again, the purple lenses over there. Like, I do admire that limited color palette thing going on, where everything is just kind of black and white, and then there's just the purple and the brown, right? And I think that looks really cool. I think it's it's one of those ones that's a bit annoying, because I think there's a really, really good creative vision. You've got the creative bit, the bit that I struggle with, because everybody knows I'm a bit of a paint by numbers, right? I copy things. You've got really good creative vision. It's just getting the brush to obey your commands, right? Because I really like your idea. It's just a case of refining it, okay? Kill Team 66. Okay, Death Watch. So these are, it's a difficult one. There's nothing super wrong with them. There's nothing super standout about them. They are pretty much I think your standard tabletop quality miniature, right? So it's things like, okay, so the black armor, you have the same problem, I think, as the last black armor that we've looked over. You've gone for this thing that people do with black, where they try and highlight black with metallic, and I don't always think it works. And I think you're going to try and do that, you'll be really, really careful with it. And there's clearly just some places where you've applied the black, and then you've applied the dry brush, and then you've just dry brushed a lot, and you've just gone, well, that's how that looks now, and then moved on a little bit. It's like, well, you know, it's never going to look as nice as a nice edge highlight. I don't know whether it's the camera as well, but you've managed to get a different finish on some of these models. So these two here look a deeper black and shinier, and the others look a lot grayer. So I'm not sure what's going on there. And the Phobos ones look a lot more grey, but I'm thinking that's probably part of the point there. I think you've probably struggled with your red paint. Is your red paint gone a bit off in the pot? Is it a bit thick? Because it's gone on into some places a bit kind of blotchy and annoyingly. I totally get that as well. Like, it's like, I want to use this paint. Oh, it's not quite good, but I don't want to have to go and buy a new paint like £3, right? So I'm going to just use it as best I can. What I would say is more water, you know, thin it down, put it on, let it dry, do another layer, let it dry, do another layer. and get that smooth red coat, because it looks a bit patchy and thick here, and it looks a bit thin here, and there's some black coming through. And if you're going to use red, it should really like pop, you know. The green glows and the green blades, you've just, as far as I can see, you've just got a really bright green paint and put it on there. Little things that you could do. So this, like these blades where you've got this recessed detail, just get a little bit of Liquitex white ink. And if you've got recessed detail like that that's on there, you just take a small brush, dip it in the ink, and then dip it into the little recess, and the capillary action will just go and wick the ink along the recesses for you. And even just that, and it'll look really good. There's some other little bits on this, like we've all done it, the bits of the basing colour on the boots, missed straps on the thighs, down here, and things like that. But do you know what? They're done, and they're done to a decent tabletop standard, right? Elephant Bat. No, Elephant Bat weirdly did 2 entries. Okay. Elephant Bats. One of the judges really liked these, and I can see these are weird because there's bits on them I think that are really, really good, and then there's other bits that I look at them and I'm like, what? So let's go through this here, okay? Your OSL game is really, really strong. The plasma guns in both teams look absolutely 10 out of 10 amazing. I love them. I love them. I love them, right? And the green here, this looks amazing, right? Yeah, I really love your OSL, okay? I'll talk about the yellow Marines first. So I really like the yellow on the yellow Marines. I think it looks really, really good. The actual yellow armor color. I think it's glazed and highlighted, and the highlights look really good. But these yellow guys just look unfinished, right? So this guy with his white trim, I'm assuming that was a choice because he's the leader, and you want him to stand out a bit more, so he has white trim and not silver. But I don't know, it looks a bit odd. And then these backpacks, especially this one you got front and center with the banner, with all the work that's gone into the rest of the model, this backpack just looks really unfinished. And I can kind of say that about all the backpacks here, because basically, if nothing else, these kind of the orbs inside the little sensors here feel like they could be picked out in a different color. Even just if you painted it silver, just putting a little bit of a colored contrast paint on some of these other bits, like a nice Agaros Dunes in there to make this a kind of golden brassy color, and maybe some like orange on here or yellow to make it like glow up as the Eye of Horus on the eye section. Something like that, just to draw. This is a huge thing, and it's front and center photograph, and it just looks kind of like you forgot that it was there. And also the bases on these guys, man, like what? But that said, I've said all this critical stuff, like the yellow, which is most of the miniature, looks really good. The OSL looks really good. The swords look really good. Like you've put in a lot of effort in a lot of places, right? On these guys, they look finished. So, you know, you've put in a load of work on the bases on these ones, and I think, not sure what's quite going on here with this 2-tier base for these two, but on these, the bases look really good. I love the moss. I think that's worked really well. I think the swords and the guns look amazing, better than I could do, right? But on these, what I think lets them down is the armor. The armor's just got that slightly blotchy wash or contrast paint looking consistency to it, which it's a shame because we know how you hard to paint, because the yellow on these ones looks amazing. And I think if you were to condense the best of both of these teams, right? I think if you'd managed to paint the blue ones with the same amount of care and skill on their armor as you'd done with the yellow armor, they'd be a 10 out of 10 kill team. And I think with the yellow ones, the armor's fantastic. There just appears to be all these missing details, the backpacks, the banners, the bases, that draw the eye and make you go, oh, it's just not quite there, it's not quite done. But yeah, that's kind of the view there. But there's stuff on here. One of the judges really liked yours and was really trying to push for him to be there, but it just wasn't quite, didn't quite have the consensus view. Okay. Alex Russ. So our first honourable mention goes to Alex Russ. So two or three of us really liked your entry, Alex. I enjoyed the concept. A couple of us enjoyed the concept of it being the guys from the Space Marine animation. I think there's a lot of effort gone in there. In terms of the actual the execution of the paint job, a bit. You have a distinctive style. I personally like it. Someone else thought it came off as too messy with the weathering and stuff, so it was a bit kind of backwards and forwards. I really like it, and I think you've got a unique. It's not the heavy metal way of painting things, but I think you've got a really unique way of painting things, and I think it's really, really cool. I think these are really, really good, and a couple of the other judges thought that's really, really good as well. But a little bit divisive on the day, Alex, and there was other things that had more unanimous support. I mean, I think perhaps the weathering on two of them, perhaps it went a bit heavy. Like this guy down here, did it really have to go all the way? I don't know. I guess you painted his knees white, right? And it just has this effect of kind of turning this into one homogeneous blob. And then on here as well, it's just gone a little bit heavy compared to the others. I think that's possibly what ended up counting against you a little bit. But I really like them. So there you go. Matty Poole then was the second honourable mention, and believe me, a couple of us had this in contention for top three. So there's a lot on here that's really admirable, Matt. I think there's so many things. Like it's got object source lightning, right? It's got the free-handed raven, blood raven symbol, right? It's got really interesting multicolored bases, right? It's got the heat distortion effect on the flamer, right? There's a lot of stuff to like. But having said that, it looks like the fundamental, when you strip all the cool bits and techniques away, it was felt that the fundamental kind of the painting of like the bits of the marine that are just red, or the bits of marine that are just blue, the paint had gone on a bit thick, right? And ultimately, that's what kind of ended up counting against you in the end and robbing you a bit of a podium. It's like you've mastered all of these really advanced techniques, and you paint things that I couldn't paint, right? But then there's some things at the bottom end, some more basic things, just smoothness of base coats and things like that, where we need to make sure that we're not. And so I wonder with you, Matt, where you've got this vision in your head and it's awesome, and you've got all these techniques and things that you know how to do, and you're almost rushing to get to the good bit, right? And you're like, well, the good bit will catch. And I've painted like this myself, right? You have bits on a model that you're excited to do, and you can see just how they're going to work, and you're like, wow, I'll do a really good face, and I'll do a really good this, and I'll do a really good that, and that'll catch the judge's eye, and maybe I'll get away. And you won't. You will with some people, but you won't always get away with the bits that are not quite there. And I think with these, it's the fundamental, it's the fundamentals of the basic bits of paint on the flat coloured bits that haven't quite. I've said it in so many. I mean, if we go back, I've said it with so many of these, right? I've said it with so many of these. So, yeah, I said it on this one, and 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 I said it on this one, right? And I'm saying it on yours. With Marines, this is the thing with the Marine painting challenge. You've got to just get that armor panel, the flat color on the armor panel looking right, and then and the beautiful extra technical bits you can do. Just go back and make sure that the foundation is there. Third place winner was Jace Ace. Now, look, yes, it's a painting competition, and it's not necessarily the case that the technical skill of applying paint with a brush is better markedly in these than with some of the other ones that we've looked at. Now, it's not bad, it's on par. The reason he's pipped into third place over some of the others is the concept. It's that he's done his own chapter, his own free-handed chapter symbol, and he's got this, and you're going to have to share how you've done it. Is it brass? Is it hole punched paper? Is it a product that you've done? But I think you've painted them individually. These oak leaf vines, that's a really original concept there, and you've got the oak leaves growing around over everything, and you've got bits of freehand on the tabards, and the cloaks, and the shoulder pads, and the banner, and you've got the green glow on the weapons that looks pretty cool. So at the end of the day, even though for these we didn't feel that maybe the technical skill of putting the paint on the model, while still good, isn't necessarily head and shoulders over everybody else. When you combine that with the originality of the concept, the composition, the colours, all those other bits that go into painting other than just the skill at applying paint, we thought these deserved their third place win. So well done, Jace. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they turn heads and you get a lot of positive vibes and feedback for them, because they're really novel and interesting, and there's nobody else that's going to have Marines that represent this that are quite like these. So now we're going to go on to second place, and in second place is Nightfall. So Nightfall nailed two things really, really well. The first is it was a massive conversion project to try and bring Grey Knights up to that modern Primaris scale, true scale, whatever it is. Okay, however you want to term that. Really, really good. We've got silver. It's hard with a pure silver color scheme to showcase a lot of skill, right? Because if it's done perfectly, you don't notice it. And if there's a single mistake, it jumps out at you, right? And one of these models has a single mistake, which is on this knee, and it jumps out at you. But the fact that's the only thing that I can point to and say, oh, that's the only bit where I can see that the silver doesn't quite work. The rest of the silver is immaculate and looks like a sort of a real brushed chrome finish. Really sells the effect, and actually it's deceptively, it looks really simple, but it's really hard to do, especially if you're going to go on and do OSL like he's done here. On this model's brimming over with OSL. Okay, the others, he's thought about where the OSL should be, but on this one, because the weapon is going into the ground, and to put on that OSL knowing that if you mess it up, you're never going to get that leg back to silver, back to looking quite right, by having to go back and fix it with a brush. Okay, so that's really, really good as well. I'm really, really pleased there. I like the kind of cracked leather, like painted leather effect, where you can see the brown leather underneath the kind of the white covering that it's got on the holster here. That looks really, really cool as well. The weapons, the glowing eyes, all look really, really cool. I'm a big fan of the basing. I can never get weathering powders to look this good. So I'm going to ask a cheeky question, Nightfall. Have you fixed these powders? Have you set them, or have you purely just done them with powders? And the powders, if I come around to your house and blow on your miniatures, is the powder going to fly off? And why not? It's a painting competition. It's not a gaming piece competition. I know you don't often play with your miniatures, but if you've managed to get them looking that good, and you've used fixative, we need to have a chat, because I can never get my weathering powders to set and look that nice. If I'm going to pick knits, your reds look a little bit flat. I would punch them up a little bit more with the highlight, push them a little bit more into orange. But that's just me. I love the freehand on the bottom of the tabard. That's really good. So if you look at all the entries now, they're familiar with who had to be first place. And I want to say the first place was a unanimous decision. Every single person on the judging panel knew these had to be in first place. These are a cut above, I think, everything else that was entered. These are superlative, superb, perfect, you could say, Emperor's Children. And these are so good, I feel like I've got very little business to even talk about them. There's conversion work. There's this dynamic basing that just looks really on point. The armor and the transitions are utterly perfect. I mean, just look at this tabard. This tabard here, like the amount of work that's gone just into that, or the mirrored sword blade, right? Or the lining of this one. Like, James, are you going to game with these? It's always my question when models is go, look at the gem in the middle of this. This is studio paint job quality, right? You could have these in White Dwarf magazine, they wouldn't look out of place. You could have these in the cupboards of Wild World, and they would only look out of place because we know that they're conversion. And Games Workshop doesn't actually, but just. So well done, James. Well deserved winner. Here's my hat. Putting it on. I'm putting it on, right, so I can take it off to you. There we go. Well done. I think fantastic. Fantastic. Right. What are your thoughts on the entries? It's always really bad because I really try. Look, I really try to be positive and also give constructive feedback on every single one. I always finish these videos thinking that I've been too mean to people, but I always feel the need to justify why they didn't win. I mean, and that's something that you don't get from any other painting competition, right? Generally speaking, you enter a painting competition, Wild World, or at a tournament or whatever, and you go back and you didn't win. And I've never won a painting competition. You never get feedback, so I think people that enter know what they're getting in for, so I shouldn't feel so bad about it at this stage. But just in case I have rubbed anybody the wrong way, or if anybody in the comments feels, wow, you're really mean about Matthew Poole's entry, it was perfect. I want you to know, no, I really like Matthew Poole's entry, right? It's just one of those things. There has to be a top three, and there has to be some thought about it. Okay. We will do this again in a month or so. I have a vague idea what it's going to be themed on weirdos, right? But I may change that. We'll just see what happens. Okay. I have been instructed by Major Tom that it cannot be Space Marines in any way again. So it's not going to be everybody paints a Death Watch Kill Team, even though I think everybody paints a Death Watch Kill Team would be popular. It won't be that. Okay. Please do subscribe, comment, and if you consider membership, please do that. I want to say thank you to all my members, and I forgot to put his name on in pink because I'm a horrible person. But a special thanks to Alex, who is subscribed at the top tier, and therefore gives a sizable financial contribution every single month. Thank you very much, Alex. And then the last thing to say is, if you look at the Discord link in the description, you find a link you find in the hobby section. There's loads of channels on the Discord. You find in the hobby section, there's the Space Marine Hobby Challenge room and the Space Marine Hobby Challenge discussion room. And you can go in there and you can find the high-res pictures of all these entries as well, so that you can have a peruse and then let me know who you think was right and who you think was robbed. Okay? I'll see you again next time. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Bye-bye, 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 bye.